Hi, good evening everybody. I'm Ronnie Harvey for VCN and this is the Thursday night PRT Handicap race. It's great to have you with us watching the event. Great to have you taking part. If you're on the road and listening to us as well, hopefully I'll be able to give you some information on where your closest competitors are. Great to have everyone out there racing and try and give everyone a shout out as we're going through the stream. Although some evenings it's a little bit difficult to do because the racing can be quite hectic and you can see groups that you're trying to follow and see how it's developing. So we do try and cover everyone as much as we can. Handicap race, for those who are new to the format, handicap race is the only time that you can legitimately change your weight within the game. Other than this race, your weight should be exactly as it is in real life. But before the handicap race, what you can do is you can take your FTP, divide it by 3.2, and that will give you your weight in kilograms, not pounds, kilograms that you enter into the game. This means everybody has a normalised watt per kilogram effort, watt per kilogram limit that they should work to, which is around about 3.2 watts per kilogram. There is a little bit of give and take in that. And that means that the elite athletes who would most races fly off and disappear into the distance will be competitive with the less elite athletes. The elite athletes get given a bigger weight penalty because they are higher FTPs, those with lower FTPs have a lower weight penalty, or even in some cases they may actually benefit and may actually get to reduce their weight. This means that when we're attacking hills, when we're climbing hills, the riders with the heavier weights get slowed down, and the riders that have got lighter weights they'll be able to catch up. So all the races that are designed by Will, Usher, PRT, or in the main they are, occasionally cover some real roads as well, main good hills. So we love hills, we love hill climbing, which most cyclists will enjoy a little bit of hill climbing now and again. They're fantastic races to take part in. They're also a great leveler for different age groups as well. So as we're going through the race, you'll see some of the riders who are, some of them are more senior, some of them are at the other end of the spectrum as well. And it enables all these different categories of riders to compete together and to be in with the possibility of winning. We do cover all the time on the PRT event. There is a combativity award, and it is the combativity award that is the most prestigious award within the event. It's voted for in the WhatsApp group and also the Discord group on the PRT event. PRT has its own Discord group as well, which everyone, or the majority of the riders, sign into. So you can hear some really choice panting, groaning, shouting, screaming, swearing if you get into that PRT Discord group. And it is good to get in there and to know that you are not the only one suffering on this course. Quick one, a bit of a side move. The VCN National and World Championships are happening this year on RGT, and we're really happy to announce that the Precision Rewards Programme, which is from Precision Race Team, that's something that they put together. They're offering that support, they're lending a hand in with the arrangements for the VCN World and National Championships. We've got some more details coming on that, but essentially we'll be getting some discounts on the Precision Rewards scheme, which is a fantastic scheme that's been set up by the team, using Will's contacts within the industry to make sure that you can get yourselves some really good discounts on all the best kit. And not only is it the best kit, but it's kit that's been tested by Will and his team to be seen to be really good stuff, reliable, and might not just be the best kit, but the best support goes along with that as well. So there's Hugh in there, there's Wahoo, specialised bikes, all sorts of different things. But I'll have a chat about that as I'm going through the stream more later on. I'm going to get down to the track. Normally do a relive, but unfortunately the time's been short this week, so we didn't get the relive done. But you can see on the profile at the bottom of the screen, go through that. We shall have a look at this event. We've got 13 seconds to go until we blast off. following myself at the moment. And we're going to go back up to the front of the race. You see Darren Ray, he's taken a flyer off the front here, being chased by one of the real bots. Real bots are included, and lots of bots are included in these events all the time. Generally to help with some of the slower paced riders so they don't get isolated, but the real bots are a newer addition to RGT, and they're a little bit different. They're AI learning bots, and they are learning that the takeoff in RGT is phenomenal from the start. So you can see that they're responding to that as they've learned, and they're learning that technique as well. So we've got Darren Ray. We've got RF of the Fast Forward race team there as well, just following in behind him. I'll spin the camera around so we can see some of the riders that are coming through there. See Bartle, Darren pushing on again at the front there, putting himself into second place. Andre Fugara there in third, and then we've got Tickham behind him in fifth, and Ben Lowe, Will Deegan, and Jean-Baptiste is in there as well. Always some new names turning up. Try and keep a track of a lot of the riders as Will Deegan just rolls through into second position there. Some phenomenal powers going from the line here. We've had that extreme incline coming up initially, and a lot of the riders having to put in some power to get up that. We are on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. If you send a message through any one of those platforms, I'll get that message up on the system and try and respond to you. We're also checking in on race radio during the race so we can see what's happening with the riders. If any of them are chatting around on the in-game chat, we'll be picking that up as we see Will Deegan coming through into 10th position there. And we've got bots at the front of this race now, a big pile of them. So the bots will be, I think, expect overhauled as this race goes on. See Martins, and then the rest of the riders in front of Martins are all bots. Martins, and then there's a gap back to Deegan and Darren Ray there. Again, a shout out that there's some feedback on the audio. I do apologise for that. I hope it's coming through better now. Haven't changed any of the settings through from last week, but sometimes technology does do interesting things for you. We're just dropping back down through the pack there. We've got Martins off at the front there, Darren Ray, Andre Fugara, Goff, Galina, Jean-Baptiste, Almeida. See Will Usher there, the architect of all this pain. I hope he's suffering tonight. I'm sure I won't be the only one hoping that. See Will Deegan, Stuart Ludlow, Guy Hepner. And a bit further back we've got Sutherland, Bartle, IK, De Smet. I think that's Stefan De Smet. Good to see him racing again. I've not seen him for a little while. He used to race the Thursday night PRT races regularly. And then Ben Lowe a little bit further back. Ben's usually up at the front end of these races. He's possibly not enjoying the elevation that we're taking in immediately off the start line on this one. And we've got C90, Matt Barker, Titcombe, David Brookhusen, Worthington, Rizajcek, We've got Ray Rusher, Carroll, Calcius, Ian Murray, Jensen, Lou Gelling, Ursula, Morris, Greening, Chris Shackleton, and Kurt Vicky Lang, two of the riders from Team Lou Racing there. I've got Mark Fawcett, also of Team Lou, Tom Smith, Team Lou, Jonathan Wales. Jonathan was getting his excuses in earlier on today. He's been doing his 4x100 training, as Lou Gelling was as well. I see Shrek there. Shrek, good to see him back on the platform. He's been off for a little while with a leg injury. Hopefully he's going to make it through this race tonight. Ian Hurst, good fellow. Anton Wouters, Humphreys. Notice a few more South Africans in the race tonight. Bev Usher. Behind we've got Nors. A little bit further back on the course we've got Joe Johnson, Robin Druitt, Ledung, Hutchinson, Verschoren. And we've got 3 100 Visky. Paredes, Patterson. There's a big race tonight. Lots of guys out there and girls. Oh, Mercedes Realbot ploughing a lonely furrow at the front of this race. I wonder if once they've crested this climb, their power profile will change somewhat. And Margot and Maisie, bots keeping together. D'Angelo, Martin's quite a way out in front of the rest of the riders. So it is a 3.2 watt per kilogram normalized race. So the idea is that you've adjusted your weight to bring your total power down to around about 3.2 watts per kilogram. There is sometimes guys that miss this on the instructions. It is noted quite frequently, and Will goes through the race afterwards and checks on who has abided by the changes and who's not. You do find different nationalities. It's not always clear to everyone, and some guys just jump straight into a race to see a busy race and they jump into it without paying attention to the rules. I think Martins may have fell foul of that category. He's jumped onto a busy race. So we're not gonna focus too much on Martins for the rest of the race now. As we drop back, we see Almeida in 8th position now, pushing hard, just using these real bots to work his way up the field. And with Galino further back, with Will Deegan, Guy Hepner, Stuart Ludlow and Desmat all nearby. Will has just put in the pedal to the metal a bit now, 4.8 watts per kilogram. Coming to the top of this climb, knowing he's not got too much more to suffer. Oh, I just see on the race radio that Sergio was looking to get into the race, but he's not made it tonight. Sergio Saldano, who's running the Madeira Tour on RGT at the moment. He's been having a bit of a mare at the moment. A technical last week and couldn't race it on the Wednesday night. He's had an area power cut last night and couldn't race, so he's rescheduled his racing for Saturday. The race went ahead, but unfortunately Sergio couldn't get into it, and he's raced as many of the Thursday night handicaps as he can, enjoying the competition, pushes him, and looks like unfortunately he wasn't able to get in tonight. So there's a crest in that first section of the climb. A little group here, Deegan, Hepner and Goff and Galino all together. I'm not sure on the weight penalties of the other riders, but I know Guy Hepner, he usually carries around about 20 kilograms extra into these events. See that coming up on a bot there, and Galino managing to just get past bot without any incident there. And as soon as we start going back uphill there, guys just stalled, slowed somewhat there. Picking off some of these bots now, moving up the field. Someone did ask me the other day whether they should take note of an FTP increase that they'd received during the PRT handicap race because their weight wasn't their standard weight. So your FTP is your functional threshold power, and it's theoretically it's the level of power that you could hold for an hour. RGT works it out generally on a 20-minute effort, and they do a little bit of calculation off that to work out your functional threshold power, and they update it constantly through the app. They only update increases in the power. They don't update it if your power is below that for what likely be obvious reasons, but effectively you could just be having a cool day, a resting day, and they'd be consistently decreasing your functional threshold power if that were the case. So they only record or offer to change your functional threshold power when it goes up. So they were asking whether they should change and accept that change after they'd done a PRT race. My answer to that was yes. Your power is power. It doesn't matter if you weigh 50 kilograms or you're weighing 600 kilograms, you're putting out that amount of power. What changes in game when you adjust your weight is the speed that you travel at. So the speed that you climb at will reduce when you've increased your weight, and the speed that you descend at will increase as well. But your power that you provide to the platform won't change. That'll be the same regardless of the weight that you input. So if it does offer you an increase in your FTP after you've completed one of these handicap races, then yes, accept it, and accept that you're going to have to put more weight on for the event next time around. Everybody's looking to increase their FTP, or at least that's the main goal for most people. So we've got Will Deegan and Almeida now just coming over the top. So they'll be wise to stick together on the descent. As you see, Goff, Matt Barker just getting a little bit sticky there with some of the back markers. Galino, Hepner. Going around a tight corner there. RGT, there's occasionally, if you're coming up on a rider and you're near to the same power as that rider, you do occasionally, presumes you want to sit in on their wheel. If you are intending to overtake the rider, if that's what you want to do, it's wise to have a little push just to make it clear to the algorithm that's what you're intending to do. You're not just going to go and sit up on their wheel, because it does have this tendency on occasion to just sort of sit you in a little bit. So yeah, it's good whenever you get the opportunity to just go in and get yourself tucked in behind that rider, or if you, as I say, if you're going to pass them, just put a kick to get yourself back round them. Especially important on crit races when you might have a lot of back markers. And when you're coming up on those back markers, it can make a big difference to yourself, to the positions that you have. If someone following you could just put the kick in at the right time and go round. We see a big group here now. I've got C90 on the front of it, Ludlow, RF fast forward, Stefan de Smet just closing down on that grouping of Galino and Guy Hepner in front. That group working together to shut them down, and we'll have a big group here now. Get to them before descent starts proper. That'll be a just flying through some of the trees there. That's one of the negatives of the... Oh, Sergio did get in. Ah, that's fantastic. Groups got together. So on the descents, working together as a group, you can just you can gain massive amounts of difference if you're in a group on a descent. It does make a big difference to the speed at which you descend. Even when you're not pushing, you can see Sergio Saldana, IK there, pushing now to try and catch up, as we've got RT rider coming in the back, Guy Hepner there. Up at 75 kilometers per hour. Still got two groups on the road here as we come into the flatter section. See now that we're closing in on those riders up in front. Guy Hepner leading the group here, and Will Deegan and Almeida, who'd made an early break, being reeled in by the effect of a pack. Guy's pushing there on the front. I think he's trying to break off from this group and make it up to Deegan and Almeida on his own, and the group not really working with Guy, and they're not responding to his attack. Guy's making it up to Almeida and Deegan. Deegan pushing on this flat section, making the most of this flatter area to use his power, get away from the chasing bunch. So we've got some riders who can put out a phenomenal amount of power on this event. They are slowed by the normalization on the hills, but on the flatter areas, that normalization doesn't really affect them. They can still put the power down. The weight doesn't affect you because you've got wheels underneath you. It's easy to roll on the flat. So a massive group here now. This is unusual to see in this race. Stuart Ludlow's made it into this group as well. Andre Fugada there at the front. Matt Barker, I think, in third wheel. Oh, it's De Smet. Stefan De Smet. We'll see. We'll have some of the lighter riders tucked in here. For Sergio Saldana there, just taking the front. Sergio, good rider on the climbs, but he does carry quite a bit of weight in these races. If you do see him out and about in a standard race, then watch out for him on the climbs. He's a light rider with a good amount of power, but on these races he does suffer from the fact that his FTP leads him to have a bit of an increased weight. It is interesting on some of these races as well when you see the riders who are not used to riding the handicap race, and on occasion you'll see them attacking at the wrong points in the course because they're carrying additional weight and they're not sort of thinking as tactically on the weight that they're given for the event. They're working with their normal weight, if you will. I'm just checking on the race radio now. Chris Shackleton's giving a shout out to Kurt, Vicky Lang, Go Kurt, and Guy Hepner's giving instructions for everyone to group up for the flat sections. Shine out for the numbers to group up and work together on these flatter sections. So while it's on this flat section, I'm going to drop back through the field, see how the rest of the pack are getting on, and we'll try and get back to these riders as they explode at the beginning of the next climb, which is, I think, the Cheddar Gorge climb. We've got a little bit of gap back now to Dreening, RF, Fast Forward team, and I think Bartle's in this group as well. And a bit further back, we've got Darren Ray, stuck in a bit of no man's land now. He's got Sutherland coming up behind him, but then the group behind him is the Usher, and Will Usher is in no man's land as well. So Darren Ray improving every week, Darren, on these races. Saw him leading at the beginning, and he's been changing his setup to try and make sure that he is most efficient on the climbs. So we see Sutherland there just making the catch. Two riders working together, hopefully on the flat for a while. Yeah, so Darren's been adjusting his slope intensity on platform to try and make sure that he's using the most appropriate gears for the climbing. A lot of us don't encounter the same sort of level and intensity of gradients in the real world as we see in the RGT world. So sometimes you need to use that slope intensity slider to just make things a bit more achievable for the setup that you have. Darren Ray and Sutherland there, and then we've got Ben Lowe, Titcombe, Will Usher, Rhea Usher, and I think there's David Brookhusen in that group as well. And they're being joined by the D'Angelo bot. And a little bit further back on the road, we've got Jean Baptiste. He's grouped together with Morris Jensen, and just a little bit further back, they're just making the catch now as a bigger group of Ursula, Luke Gelling, Chris Shackleton, Carol, and Jensen. And Worthington's in that group as well. And we've got Jonathan Wales making some good progress with Goodfellow, Zychek, Anton Woods's, and Kurt Vicky Lang. We've got Ian Hurst, company of a couple of bots there. And we've got Humphreys just looking like he might latch onto this group. And Tom Smith. And we've got Ledung. And Shrek still rolling strong. His legs holding up okay for him. Now Joe Johnson. Further back on the road we've got Bev Usher. That's 3 Ushers in this race. Don't know if there's any more that can take part. Hutchinson. 300 Visky and Paredes. You've got Robin Druitt. And then Bashurin. Patterson. Feel I should know that flag. Escaping me. And think that's it for real riders. Yep, we're going to fly back up to the front as we are hitting the base of the climb. And we've got Hepner, Schmidt, C90, Deegan, Sergio Saldana just near the back of the group now. I think it's Matt Barker that's suffering first. They're all staying pretty much together. I've got another 15.5 kilometers of this race to go now. The gradients tip up to 7%. Guy Hapner on the in-game chat saying there's a long way to go yet. Climb is only halfway. Wait. And they've reeled back in Martins who went off like a rocket earlier on in the race. Has now been caught back in with this group. And just seeing, I think that's a bot that might be just dropping off the back there. See Mercedes and Mercedes Saldana, Sergio Saldana's dropping off the back slightly, and Andre Bugara. Perhaps they've got a Portuguese team plan, maybe, or just not feeling quite the pace today. Sergio did tell me how to pronounce of Bugara, his name. I don't think I'm getting it right, but I'm trying. If you hear me murdering your name in game, then do feel free to drop me a line and I'll try and adjust my pronunciation, which is a very Mancunian pronunciation for most of the names. So you're just having a little bit of a split now. Goff also struggling at the back of that front pack. Very challenging, these slopes. 8.8% or just tickling 12% there. The Tour of Britain's been through down this road before now. So just saying before in the intro, we are bringing the VCN World and National Championships to the RGT platform, and we're happy to announce that Precision Rewards are helping us with that. They are putting together a package of rewards for every entrant into the Nationals and World Championships. We're going to release details in the coming days. For those who aren't aware, if you play a trailer on the way in and the way out of the stream, it's a precisionrewards.co.uk, and it's part of the Precision Race team. And effectively, it's just basically it's a way of getting discounts on products without being tied into anything. Will has been able to use his influence within the industry to work with different equipment and supplement suppliers, and he's been able to secure discounts that can be accessed by anyone. You sign up to Precision Rewards scheme, then you can get codes to get yourselves discounts off different supplements, and they offer tiers. So the initial tier is free, so you can sign up and get a free discount on, I think it's around about 10% on a lot of products. But if you're making a big purchase of something like a bike, for instance, you can sign up to one of the higher tiers, and that gives you access to a bigger discount. No tie-in. You can sign up for a month, get the discount code, and make your purchase, and then cancel it if you wanted to. But it's a good platform to be part of. Go back to the race. We've got Dreening now. It's just made a good run from further back in the field all the way up to 12th position. And we can see Martins now, who was so dominant in the early part of the race, is trailing off there, back in 11th position now, as Dreening's looking like he's going to catch up with this lead group as we go underneath the halfway banner. And then we see Martins being passed. Perhaps too enthusiastic in the early part of the race. Trying to hold on to the wheel of Draining there. We do have a big section of green, so it will be worthwhile having someone to ride with and draft in behind. Go up to the front of the race again. Martin's just flying back up again there. Going back, Stefan de Smet, and Martin's back on the wheel of them. And the lead group, Matt Barker, Will Deegan, Almeida, Guy Hepner, and C90 just pushing off the front of the group now. Just a reminder to anybody that's watching, I am tied into the chats on Facebook and YouTube, so if you make any comments on there, I can respond to them in the stream. See, Martins has raced back up into third wheel now and is catching back up to C90 and sitting on C90's wheel. C90 just going at a steady there at 3.2 watt per kilogram, now entering into a slightly easier section before the gradient ramps up once again. Watching C90's heart rate there. Martin's being caught once again by the pack. Greening now made a massive gains on that last climb. Come from around about 13th position up to second. Hepner, Barker. Martin's doing some yo-yoing now. Forward and back in the pack, and once again. Power down briefly, and then off again. So Paulina looking like suffering somewhat. Our heart rate's up at 177. Will Deegan back in that group as well. IK. Martins comes back up again. No Richard Akers in tonight's event. I think we're missing the Wayne train tonight as well. So going on to a flatter section now. Again, we'll just drop back and see how the grouping is back on the road. See Stuart Ludlow's isolated, probably going to be caught back up by Saldana and Fugara. Saldana and Fugara looking like they're working together there. Goff just slightly distanced, again be doing well to manage to group up with these three riders in front of you. He's got enough left in the tank, although heart rate there is up at 181. Heart rate's a very individual thing, but that's on the higher side of things. I expect a rider to be able to maintain that for a long period of time. Being joined up by the bots there. The Goff's power just dropping off. Bartle, who was up in that front group earlier on, now quite a bit further back. That climb has really punished everybody. The initial climb straight out of the starting blocks made everyone suffer. Sutherland 21st position, RF fast forward in 22nd. We've got Willershire, the company of Calcius, and Ray Ursher just pushing up to his wheel there. So they've split off from the group that they were racing with earlier on. Will and Ray in harmony there, riding together. Sitting on the wheel of Calcius. See Darren Ray. Been a long climb for Darren, suffering as we come up to the top, and Carroll trying to fight to get to his wheel there. You often see in these races where the lighter riders flying up the inclines and then the heavier riders making the difference on the flatter sections. See Lou Gelling in decent progress into 28th position. Chris Shackleton keeping a company. We've got Tidcombe in 30th. Ben Lowe not too far behind him. Lots of close riders on the road tonight. It'll be interesting to see on these sections whether they manage to regroup. Goodfellow chased the Ben there. Morris again, so not too far away behind at all. Anton Wouters. Kurt Lang in 36th position with David Brookhuizen. David seemingly not enjoying this course. Jean-Baptiste. Ursula in 40th position. Worthington. Jasson. Jonathan Wales. Ian Murray. Zychek. So while we're on Zychek here, we just mentioned that we got MR at the end of his name. MR stands for Moon Riders. A lot of the riders adding in their team names at the end of the name. The Moon Riders are running a tour at the moment, which is the Heroica series, which we're covering on BCN. That runs on a Tuesday evening at 7:30, but they also run it in a number of time zones. So it's in the Pacifica time zone, it's in the European time zone at 7:30, it's also in the Americas time zone. But on the Americas, it runs on the Thursday night. Then we've got Ian Hurst. Now a nice steady power, 3 watts per kilogram. Humphreys, chased by Tom Smith. And with Ledung in 60th position. 3100 Visky being chased by Hutchinson. And not too far beyond is Joe Johnson. Shrek. Bev Usher. A little bit further back tonight we've got Robin Druitt. Brady's just coming through the halfway marker there with Usher and not too far behind them. And Patterson. I think that's the last real rider on the road. Fly back up to the front of the race again. And Mercedes still lone real bot there, kicking out 5 watts per kilogram at the front of this race. And distance in C90 and Dreening. And we've got a nice tight little packed group here now. Will Deegan, Guy Hepner, C90 Dreening. Will Deegan, Guy are regulars of the handicap race. strong riders, often dueling it out towards the end of the races. Dreening and C90, to my knowledge, they're the first times that I've seen them on this race. So it'll be interesting to see how they go towards the end. See how they've paced themselves. So just checking in on the race chat now. We see Guy Hepner is saying, Will, on me, 2v2. Let's see how it plays out. Some riders preferring to use the Discord system, the audio system, and some riders preferring to use the text chat through the game. We can see there Mercedes in the left-hand side, the listing of the riders on the left-hand side. Mercedes has got Team RealBot underneath their name, and there's been space allocated underneath the rest of the riders' names. We believe at some point in the near future there's going to be an update from RGT, and we're hoping that we'll see the ability for riders to add their team names in underneath their own name. And we keep on chatting and debating about what other features this may bring with it. Once you're allowed to allocate yourself a team, will you be able to have a team only chat perhaps, or even team only draft? And the VCN team time trial series is running currently. It started again this week, and there's still time to register your team on RGTDB and get your times in there. There's information on the VCN Facebook page, the VCN team time trial. But there's potentially, if you have your teams allocated, you could have team only drafting. Lots of debate over what features could come with that small change. Some of you may have noticed on the VCN Instagram and Facebook that we posted out that it's looking on the updated software that the devs are testing. It's going out for real world testing with some of the RGT staff, and it's looking like there'll be a suffer score added as well as an optional feature, so you can see just how much pain you're going through as if your legs aren't telling you enough. See Will and Guy just sitting on the wheel of Dreening now, and C90 opening a slight gap. Will not happy with that. He's moving forward to sitting on the wheel of C90. He doesn't want to give him too much gap. Just going through one of the slight inclines again now. So I mentioned this is the Mendip Monster, as it's been named by Will Usher. That part of it goes through the Cheddar Gorge, which I think we're just climbing out of now. And anyone who's been to the Cheddar Gorge probably knows that it doesn't look too much like this. These graphics that we're viewing now are provided as an automatically created scenery from the computer. This is using a feature called Magic Roads, which is an RGT feature, and it allows you to import a GPX of anywhere in the world into the RGT platform, and you can ride it, all the curves, all the elevation, exactly as it would be in real world. Will, who has his own training company, has trained his athletes using this to great success, training the courses that they're going to ride to a plan. They've put in stops, they've put in overtaking, they've put in feed stations virtually, a training plan, and they've rode that to very, very close times to what they've managed in real life. The way they've set it up is fantastic. We do go through this in depth with Will Usher in one of our interviews that is up on the VCN YouTube page, which of course I encourage you to look at. And whilst you're there, why not subscribe? and like all of the videos, not just the ones we will usher in, like all the videos there. Subscribing to the channel does push our videos up. It allows us to promote the PRT handicap races better and promote the RGT platform in general. And if you're new to the platform, if you're just getting into it, if you're just having a look at it, we do have a walkthrough of the RGT platform there as well. An RGT first look from when the One app was first released. It's not changed too much since we did that look through. In fact, I don't think it's changed any. There's been a couple of minor features added. Just looking at the screen there, I don't know if you saw it flash up. That is my climbing of this year, the climbing that my bot has done on the RGT platform. All of January has been an event, the Climbing for World Bicycle Relief event, which has been a cumulative Everesting. So Everesting, if you're not aware, it's climbing the height of Everest, 8,848 meters on a bicycle. It's normally done by picking one particular hill and going up and down that hill in one continuous event until you have climbed that height. As part of the support for World Bicycle Relief, RGT have been promoting that as an event that's been taking place over a month rather than doing it in one single effort. They've been doing it over the course of a month and have been encouraging people to raise money for World Bicycle Relief, which is a fantastic charity which helps areas that are well, don't perhaps have the most funding, perhaps have difficult transport links to get bikes to those people who need it, doctors for instance, or even just people who are making deliveries. Makes it easier for people to travel to school, and this is what it's about. World Bicycle Relief, it's a very worthy charity for a bicycle company to be involved with. And yeah, so if you've got time, you've got a couple of days left to get your Everesting finished, and if you're inclined to, you can make a donation to the World Bicycle Relief charity as well. We're not too far away from the end now. We've got 6 kilometers left to go. This group stuck together of C90, Dreening, Hepner and Deegan. Deegan has been dropping off the back slightly, but just about to go into a descent, flatter territory, which Deegan likes. Mercedes has been caught, the bot that's been leading from the beginning, and we'll see how Mercedes affects this race going forward as Deegan just again slightly distanced. As we're going into a descent now, minus 3.6%. I'm just going to drop back through this group and check how everyone else is going through on the road. We'll get back to these guys before the final explosions happen, before those fireworks. And we see Stefan de Smet making some good progress now on this incline. And Stefan just being with Barker and IK there. Almeida still there. Almeida was one of the front runners, went off early with Martins. Sorry, it wasn't Martins. I can't remember who it was Almeida went off the front with earlier on. I think it was Almeida actually. And Golino there. Stuart Ludlow stuck a little bit in no man's land. He's got Andre Fugara and Martins not too far behind him. Sergio had been dropped off a little bit now. Fugara just going to make it to the wheel of Ludlow. And Martin's a bit further back, 13th position. Sergio Saldana just out of sight of those riders now. I wonder whether Sergio is going to... He's a bit too far in front of Sutherland to wait for Sutherland. Sutherland's grouped up with Ray Usher, Darren Ray, Will Usher. Darren, do be wise to stick with this group and stay in the draft, save some energy for the final explosions. And we've got Team RF Fast Forward, Calcius, and it's all in that. There's a couple of bots in that group. We've got Carol stuck back in 24th position, and again just a little bit in no man's land with Goff 47 meters behind, and Goodfellow just behind them. I don't think Carol is going to make it up to that next team. Celsius or the team bot just in front. Might be wise to just wait for Goff. Everyone playing different team tactics. Goff not too far off his wheel. Then we've got a grouping: Goodfellow, Lou Gowling, Ben Lowe, Chris Shackleton, and another one of these real race bots, D'Angelo, tucked in at the back. We've got Titcomb, Wooters, David Brookhuizen, and Ursula. And Morris just being distanced slightly from that group. Jason being chased by Vicky Lang and Worthington. Vicky Lang, that is. Ian Murray and Jean-Baptiste looking like he might catch up to Murray there. Jonathan Wales wishing he'd chosen a little bit of a gentler training routine this morning. Ian Hurst. Ian's had some fantastic races in the PRT Handicap recently. Ian, I think, is the most frequent racer I see on the platform. He's on here virtually every night. Zychek. 3100 V-Ski. Not too far away from Zychek. Tom Smith. The Dung chasing. Humphreys. Going past April. Joe Johnson. Too far away is chasing a Hutchinson. Shrek. Eversher. Robin Druitt. Tucked in with the company of bots. Raid is at 74th position with Verschuren 76th, and then Patterson in 79th. So we're going to go flying forward again back to the front of this race as we see Hepner, Deegan and C90 together. And Dreening has been distanced, by some number. Dreening 267 meters behind these guys now as they are fighting for the win. And we're with Guy Hepner now. Heart rate is 162. Deegan just tucking in, he's putting out 4.5 watts per kilogram there. And C90 now, I think, trying to play a tactical game and sit on with these two guys. See the power bars underneath the riders' names. The power bars indicate how much power in reference to their FTP they are putting out. Blue numbers, which you can see C90 is just in the blue and green there, are below FTP. Amber is FTP, very green is FTP, amber is above. Red is pain, and bright red, which we saw Will Deegan going into momentarily there, is the sort of agony, the sprint speeds. I think it's referred to as neuromuscular, which is the sort of pace that you can only put out for a very brief period. The Deegan pushing through 5.1 watts per kilogram, taking the lead and opening up just a small gap on Hepner and C90. We are flat virtually all the way to the finish line now. So this will be positioning now that will win this race, in my opinion, as we see Guy Hepner just tucking in. Drop back to Guy Hepner and see how much of a drafting benefit he's receiving there. So Guy is receiving 130 watts as we go underneath the Flamme Rouge. Up in the top left hand corner of the screen, you can see the wattage, the raw watts that the riders are putting out. We've got 256 watts, 319 from Guy Hepner at the moment. You can also see his heart rate. But underneath that, we see the power history, how much power they're putting out in a graph format. And we can see generally in there, if they're drafting in green numbers, so we see there now, we're C90, and C90 is saving 90 watts sitting into the draft. Will Deegan rolls through and off the front and instantly shuts the power down. We are now 500 meters from the finish line. This is going to be a phenomenal all-out sprint. My money is on Guy Hepner, but Will Deegan is a man to watch in C90. I don't recall seeing him in these races before, so it could be anybody's race. Guy Hepner just easing off the power. 250 meters to go. Guy, power, goes red, goes deep red, 5.9 watts per kilogram, 6 watts per kilogram. Will Deegan, 10.3 watts per kilogram. 80 meters to go. C90 in the lead. Will Deegan in second place. Guy Hepner in third. C90 took that on the line. His Dreening is coming through now. Fourth position. Is that the Maltese flag? Anybody in the internet world, you shout up, tell me whose flag that is. Dreening 50 meters to go. He's had a good race today. He came through, made big progress in the middle part of the race, gained a lot of places on that Cheddar Gorge climb. Matt Barker in 5th position. Almeida 6th. Stefan de Smet not too far off, 7th position. I've got Galino and IK battling now. Galino playing out his sprint early. Is IK going to be benefiting from the draft and come through? Is Galino going to hold on to take the... Galino holds on to take the finish. 8th position. Mercedes, Real Bot, we're not looking at those. I've got Ludlow and Fugara now. Ludlow and Fugara coming through with 500 meters to go. Who's going to open up first? See Ludlow's power turning briefly red there. 260 meters to go. See Ludlow open up first. Ludlow goes. Fugara's coming through at 9.9. Ludlow 10.12. Ferrara's in the lead at the moment. Fugara from Ludlow. Fugara's come through. Ludlow just not able to overturn him at the last moment. Martin's 13th position. 800 meters to go. He's opened up phenomenally early here. He sees Will Usher is trying to chase him down. Will gets to his wheel. I suspect Will just shut off and sit in on the wheel of Martins. Will has a fantastic sprint. I think he's going to let Martins come through in front. Oh no, Martin's not putting any power down at all now. Martin's just letting Will Usher go through. And Will's just rolling steady, 3.2 watts per kilogram. 3.3. Martin's now. Martin's briefly red, but it's Will Usher all the way now. The Sutherland's caught Martins and gone through. Will not having to unleash anywhere near as wicked a sprint as usual. Will comes through comfortably into 13th position here. We've got a sprint for the camera, Will. Come on. Oh, he shut it all off. Comes through 13th position. Sutherland 14th. Martins 15th position. And Rhea Usher 16th. 150 meters to go. Raya opens up on the line. Darren Ray. Darren 6.5 watts per kilogram now on the sprint. Fighting the real bot as Ben Low. He's leaving RF fast forward in the distance. Opened up a gap. Calcius. RF fast forward. Keeps working towards the line. Come over is Calcius. Distanced. RF fast forward. Goodfellow in 22nd position. Being chased by Chris Shackleton. Chris Shackleton just pipping Bartle at the line. We've got Carroll now and Lou Gelling. 100 meters to go. Lou, 4.8 watts per kilogram. Trying to break away. She does. Lou breaks away from Carroll and the real bot. Sergio Saldana, 29th position. Just rolling it home. Goff closing him down, but it's going to be too late for Goff. Sergio Saldana comes over in 29th. Goff in 30th. David Brookhuizen battling with Ursula. Ursula sitting in on the draft. And Ursula comes round at the last minute, perfectly timed. Ursula takes position there from David Brookhuizen on the line. Fantastic drafting. Danton Wouters comes through in 33rd position. Got Titcomb and Maisie. Titcomb overtakes Maisie on the line. Murray, 36th. Every time I've gone to Murray, it's been a solo ride for him. Worthington battling with a real bot now. Real bots do respond, so you can't just sit up and expect them to stay at the same pace. They will open up a sprint on you, so it makes it much more challenging on the road now. Jessen comes over in 39th. Kurt Vicky Lang with Adele. $160 meters to go. Kurt needs to time his sprint now as Adele's open up at 8.5 watts per kilogram. Kurt responds. Kurt makes it to the line, holds off the bot. Morris, 42nd position. Important to know as well that the real bots are relatively new to the platform, so not everyone knows how they work, but they aren't all the same. The pace bots all just go at the same pace. The real bots are all dynamic. They're dynamic in their responses that they have, and no two real bots are the same. See Jean-Baptiste coming through, 43rd position, distancing Juliet. Jonathan Wales. I've got 300 V-Ski with Zychek here. I've got 500 meters to go to the line. There's a real bot tucked in as well. Who's going to open up the sprint first? V-Ski is already in the orange bar, just maintaining their position. Zychek enjoying a little bit of draft there. They're saving 40 watts as Zychek goes. Zychek goes up to 9 watts per kilogram. Open up a small gap in 300 V-Ski. There's still a bit of distance to go. V-Ski responds. They may overhaul them. No, Zychek makes it to the line over 300. 3-100 V-ski. And the real bot. Ian Hurst. 150 meters left to go to the line. There we are. Customary wave from Ian. Good to see you still watching the stream, Ian. You get a close-up for that. And Ian comes over the line at time 1 hour 5 minutes. Back with Humphreys now. Humphreys only 450 meters of this pain left to endure. Heart rate up at 184. They up now on the line, 300 meters to go. Rider's eye view of the finish line approaching. Humphreys being chased by April, but April's miles away now. Across the finish line. Now we see Ledung and Tom Smith now. Back with Tom Smith. Tom just sitting in, enjoying the draft with Ledung. We've got 300 meters left to go. And now, just having that moment of cat and mouse. Who's going to go first? Ledung opens up his sprint. 8.2 watts per kilogram. Tom Smith responds. I think he just left it slightly too long. He's dropped out of that drafting pocket. Ledung goes over the line. 61st. Tom is 62nd. Got Hutchinson now. Hutchinson, another rider that's been isolated for a lot of the time that we've covered him. So just another shout out to Will Usher of the Precision Rewards, Precision Race Team, Precision Coaching. Will puts on these races every Thursday night, 7 PM UK time. They're free to join for anyone. Just sign up through the app or through the VCN Facebook page where we share all of the ride links. And you can get yourself in this game. Just remember to adjust your weight based upon your FTP so that you are competing fairly with all the other riders. But Will puts in a phenomenal amount of time creating these GPXs for the courses, checking them, making sure that they're smooth and the best course that he can possibly provide for all the users. So, big shout out to Will. All the work that he does. As Hutchinson comes over in 63rd. Shrek. Check in with Shrek later on. I hope his legs held up well for this race. Just taking it easy. He's clear of all the other riders. Great ride. See Joe Johnson. Joe Johnson rides. Oh, I forgot the name of the club. But she rides with one of our other regular riders for the PRT events, which is Barry Wilson. But Barry is absent tonight. No idea why Barry's not in the ride. He is here most weeks. He may have decided to go out and get himself cold in the real world today. But I'll check in with Barry. Barry rides with his grandson. As I was saying earlier on, this is a great leveler for the different ages. So you can have different ends of the age spectrum racing and riding together. Barry, one of our older riders, rides with his grandson. They compete together. His grandson, I think, is 14. A little whippersnapper's got phenomenal FTP, and because of his naturally low weight, he carries a high weight penalty in the game, which slows him down and allows his granddad to compete with him. Great to see them racing together, different parts of the world. See Joe coming over the line, hour and 10 minutes, just under. Bev Usher. Bev, I often give thanks to Bev's responsible for the VCN logo. Recently redesigned it to much bolder, clearer graphics. Bev was and still is a graphic designer and is the father of Will Usher, and so in some ways he's responsible for the pain that many of you feel on the Thursday evenings. And if you ever watch the Terminator movies, then it's Bev that you need to look at. He's fully responsible for Will's enjoyment of cycling, I think, and Bev takes part in a lot of the PRT Thursday night races, and you'll also see him frequently in the Lou group rides on the Saturdays and Sundays. And the Lou group rides take part at 3 p.m. UK time, Saturday and Sunday. A little bit unusual, the group rides for Lou, Team Lou group rides, because they don't really have any set power requirements. A lot of the group rides that you go on, you know, they'll say you need to ride with a leader, you need to ride at XYZ power. But for the Lou group rides, you just find a group and you ride with them, much more like real life. See Robin Drew battling with Juliana now. Juliana, real bot. 250 meters left to go. See if Robin's going to open up a sprint and drop Juliana. See if Juliana responds. Juliana opens up her sprint, 9.5 watts per kilogram. Robin's bot sits in on the draft, but Juliana takes off. 40 meters to go as Robin rolls over the line. Great riding, Robin. We're back now with Paredes. Paredes still 1.8 kilometers to go. I mentioned earlier on, I don't know if everyone heard it, but the scenery that we're looking at now is composed from elements that the software has at its hand, and it adds different elements in depending on the gradient and the aspects of the road, but it creates them locally on the computer. So that's why some devices won't display, some devices will just show the road as a ribbon on a sea of blue, and that's because they don't have enough spare RAM. So some of the older iPads and the older Apple TV devices will still run RGT and will run RGT Railroads with the full graphics, because they are not created locally, they've been downloaded as full scenery packs. But the energy and the space needed to create these graphics, you need 2.5 spare gigabytes of RAM on the device in order to have these graphics showing. In some ways it's good to race with the blue scenery, it's not as distracting, and you can sometimes see better the riders in the distance. They're just coming underneath the 1 kilometer banner. RGT, when it went to the One app, they did do some improvements, and I'm sure, although I've no way of, well, I have got ways of checking back, but I haven't checked back. I'm sure they've increased the density of the scenery and the number of trees, the distance that the trees go off to in the distance on the magic roads now over how it was originally. Paredes here is wearing the Project Echelon top, the new season 22 top, indicated by the number there, but you can see Project Echelon, the Echelon races, and now Echelon Racing League races coming to a close on RGT. I think it's the last community races this weekend, and then following that will be the last pro team races the weekend following. So in a fortnight's time, I think the Echelon Racing League comes to a close on the RGT. But you can still follow them and you can see they're racing in real life. They've got a real life team that goes out and races all over the world. The RGT podcast was on today, and both Frank Cundiff and Eric Hill were guests on that, and they were chatting about the involvement that they've had with RGT, the involvement RGT have had with Project Echelon and the Echelon Racing League, and the way that RGT have worked with them and a lot of the changes. So RGT were quite open in admitting that a lot of the changes that have happened in the dynamics have been down to Project Echelon and the races that they've hosted on the platform. And they've led to changes in the way that the braking system works, the way that the corners are attacked, the racing lines, all influenced by the real life racing that Echelon brings to these courses. As we see, Paredes going over there in an hour and 16 minutes, and we'll drop back now to Patterson. Patterson wearing the Watt Bike kit. And we're riding the BMC. I think that is the Time Machine. Bikes in RGT they don't affect your performance at all. Everyone is given the same weight penalty for the bikes on RGT, which from memory is 7.7 kilograms. So you're effectively carrying 7.7 kilograms of kit. Unlike some of the other platforms where the bikes, the wheels, socks. Oh, it's Verschuren comes through and Patterson there. Verschuren comes through, takes the lead of Patterson as Patterson drops into the draft. He's saving 110 watts, but Verschuren is putting a little bit of effort now. Patterson sprints to come past him. Patterson retakes the place from Verschuren there on the line. Well timed from Patterson there, making the most of the draft. And that excitement brings us to the last real riders, Patterson, Verschuren there, the last two riders across the line. So that brings to an end the stream for myself tonight. I am going to play you out with the trailer for the rewards, precisionrewards.co.uk, precision-rewards.co.uk trailer. As I say, we're really proud to have them supporting the VCN National and Worlds, and we hope that you've enjoyed the stream and you'll head over to the Facebook page, give us a like, or head over to the YouTube and subscribe so you can see more of our great content. We have got some more interesting things happening. Keep an eye out on our socials. We're always releasing more things, but there's some big things coming in the near future. So I've been Riley Harvey for VCN. This has been the PRT Thursday night handicap race. Hope you've enjoyed the race, hope you've enjoyed the coverage, and hope to see you on one of the future streams.